Our democracy is in crisis, and most people don't trust that our systems are set up to work for all of us. Voters are frustrated with the limited choices they have about who represents them, and too many people feel like their voices don't matter. Immigrant workers on the front lines continue to face exclusion and exploitation, and public safety isn't equally distributed. The rate of police killings and mass incarceration hasn't significantly changed, even as calls for reform have become louder than ever before. This year has been a continuation of our work to fight for a democracy that is visionary and exciting and inclusive of all voices.
Having everyone counted in the 2020 census allowed us to incubate and launch coalitions in 2021. And that growth enabled us to take critical steps toward a vision of a multiracial democracy in 2022. Let's hear from some of our coalition leaders who are working directly on the ground and celebrate the successes that we had this year.
Washington for Equitable Representation is a coalition of 30 organizations statewide that are working together to bring election reform to Washington state and to close the representation gap of communities of color in elected office. This year, we had some monumental wins. We helped bring ranked choice voting to Seattle elections and moved King County elections to even years to increase voter turnout. We also launched a campaign to expand the use of democracy vouchers and get big money out of politics at the state level.
Redistricting Justice for Washington is a coalition of over 24 community-based organizations that fought for and won more equitable district maps in Washington. Our victories at the state level in 2021 meant that this year was the first time we had elections in a landscape that we shaped. And in 2022, we organized for fair maps at the local level. As a result, the city of Seattle adopted a new city council map that was 93% the same as the community-based proposal that we created, and the city of Yakima added a new Latino majority district.
We led the communications campaign for another round of the Washington COVID-19 Immigrant Relief Fund, which is delivering over $300 million in pandemic relief money to undocumented workers across our state. We supported over 50 organizations throughout Washington in doing outreach, and as a result, over 100,000 people applied. Approved applicants will receive at least $2,000 in funding that won't need to be repaid, so their communities will benefit from the financial assistance that has long been denied to them.
Washington for Black Lives is a coalition of over a dozen Black-led organizations around the state fighting for police accountability and investments in the Black community. This year, we helped pass historic police accountability legislation, and we used our data resources to build statewide scorecards that monitor police violence and prosecutor performance around the state. We also added more member organizations and staff, and we're excited to grow our impact in 2023 and beyond.
And we invested in more capacity building resources for our member organizations, like communications and legal office hours, to make sure that they are stronger as a result of being part of our coalition. We're so proud of the work that we accomplished together this last year, and we hope you are too. But there's so much more work to be done.
We know our democracy is not working for most people. Everyday folks continue to face exclusion, their voices aren't being heard, and their needs aren't being prioritized. And the only people who benefit from the status quo are the wealthy and the well-connected. Well, at Washington Community Alliance, we're building connections too. We're strengthening our network of organizations, incubating coalitions, and creating structures for organizing that bring out the power of all of our communities. It's a very large us and a very small them. So join us by signing up for our newsletter, following our work on social media, recommending organizations that are led by and working in communities of color that would benefit for being part of our network. And in 2023, we're thrilled to start equipping campaigns with voter data by taking on administration of the VAN, or the Voter Access Network, for the state of Washington. With your support, we can continue to strengthen a one-of-a-kind network of organizations that is making transformational change across our state. We'll see you all in 2023.